is to focus on the budget for the coming fiscal year and to give the city council and the mayor a chance to discuss it a little more informally in what we consider a workshop. So in order to do that, we're also going to hold part of the public hearing on the budget tonight. And for that, because public hearings in the city of Westminster are led by the mayor, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mayor Joe Dominic. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I will open the meeting or the public hearing. And I guess do we need a staff summary for this public hearing? Would you say, Mr. President?
I think a brief one would be in order, Mr. President, for those who didn't tune in last week.
I will. I'll go to Ms. Palmer for that. Ms. Palmer, could you please share a summary of the meeting and of the public hearing for those who are listening?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. This is the second public hearing on Ordinance 922. Ordinance 922 is an ordinance to introduce the city's fiscal year 2021 budget and to set the city's tax rate. The first budget hearing was held on April 30th. The budget ordinance was introduced on April 27th, and the budget was presented by Ms. Matthews. It is a budget of the mayor and common council, and it is set for action on May 11th, on next Monday night. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Palmer. Ms. Visoxy, so I did get your document. We had several public comments come in here in the last hour or so before the meeting, and I did get your email. But would you be able to read those for us when the time comes?
Yes, I can. I'd be happy to do so. Would you like to read all of them, or the ones?
Yeah, I think yeah, anything that has to do with the matter of the public hearing, anything that shouldn't be read during the council comments at the end, I think should be read during this. Before we do that, I'd like to give any members of the council a minute to, if they'd like to say anything before we get to council, get to citizen comments. No. Okay, Ms. Visoxy, let's go ahead and read those, and then we will move on.
Okay, let me pull them up real quick and pull them up on my phone, so that way it doesn't interfere with the recording.
Well, that's exactly why I asked you to do it, because I was gonna have to do the same, but I.
That's okay. So you want me to start with the ones I have not sent you? Is that correct?
I mean, just read them all if you don't mind.
Okay. So let me go down. Okay. So the first one that I have is from Chelsea Crocker. She said that she she wanted to write a testimony about the Family Center. She had just heard the news about the Family Center and was devastated. Devastated isn't a strong enough word to describe how she felt. Not that my feelings matter on this situation, because I'm just a mother of two. My sister is an employee at the Family Center. I have been going there since I was 8 years old. I am now 31. My children look forward to going to the gym every day. Since this virus started, even after 7 weeks, they still ask every morning if we are going. Shelly, Eva, all the people at the front desk, their kindness and willingness to help always. Abby, who has changed the gym for the better. All the classes that it offers, I know you can get those classes at other gyms, but it's not the same. It's not the rec center. It's called the Family Center for a reason. It's a community there. It's a community in the heart of Westminster. I know it comes down to money like everything in life, but I can say for a fact that if prices needed to be raised, people will pay, because no one wants to lose the family and community that has been built at the center. The next one is from Brittany Smetzer. Hi, not sure if the rumor I hear going around is true or not, but closing the Family Center, the Westminster Family Center, would be detrimental to our little city's economy, aesthetics, and atmosphere. There is absolutely no positive effect this can have. The events the city puts in are highly advertised at this gym. Many, if not all of the members who belong to the gym use it religiously and attend all these city-wide events to help support each other, our town, and our gym. You will be severing a huge family, hold on one second, I'm sorry. I'm not really sure. I think some words got mixed up there.
Just read it word for word. I know how it's difficult sometimes when you're reading an email or a letter from someone, and maybe the grammar's off or whatever. It throws you off. I've been there, but just read it word for word. It's their comments.
Okay. So you will be severing a huge family of Westminster State supporters by closing down our one space where we can safely meet and support one another. In short, by closing this gym, you will lose advertisement for your city events, which will in turn affect participation, which will then affect the extra funds you would have to received from these events. Let's face it, our city needs all the funding it can get to remain livable for many. This gym is the only affordable option of its kind and is a bright spot in seemingly dark part of town. You have no idea the family that unites within these walls and the support they give one another physically, mentally, and emotionally. If you did this, would not be an option. I hope you will hear my words and feel the emotions that are tied to allowing the service to remain in its members. Next one is Andrea Kraus. City Clerk, clearly the City of Westminster Mayor and Common Council special meeting is taking advantage of the current quarantine situation to make a decision of affecting a large number of people and families in the community without actually consulting the people and families they serve. While it is practically impossible to even attend said meeting or submit relevant and timely input, there is no equally affordable facility available to community members, especially families. This will be a devastating blow to those who are members and consider the family center community not just as a place for families to utilize, but a place where the members have truly become family. The Family Fitness Center needs to remain open and available for families after quarantines have been lifted. The argument that there is no room for the facility in the budget is absurd, especially when millions are being spent to purchase and renovate various properties and purchase insanely expensive furniture for said offices. Decisions are clearly being made to benefit friends of the mayor and not the community at large. It is also reported the mayor is in favor of closing the family center to benefit his friend who is the owner of the gym, and because another council member prefers Planet Fitness. Neither of these facilities is even a pale substitute for the family center, and a membership at the YMCA is twice as much money. Removing this valuable and affordable resource from a community with already extremely limited resources is a horrible decision for Westminster. The next one, I don't have a full name, but I'm just going to use the email. It's Meg Haynes. To whom it may concern, if you close the Family Rec Center, you will be doing the Westminster community a huge disservice. Not only did my husband grow up going to the gym, but now our kids get to. They get to see mom and dad have a healthy, active life. I don't want to sound cliche, but this gym gave me friends and my life back after having my first child. It's part of our everyday life, and my kids, 3 years old and 10 years old, and 10 months old, have made so many friends in childcare. We attend just about every single event the gym has, and my son and I run together in all the fun runs. The gym has brought the community together in such a positive way, and I cannot see anything good from closing it. I hope you take this into consideration. Lindsay Dell. Good evening. Within the last hour, I've gotten word that one of my most favorite places is being threatened to close. I have attended this gym for the last 2 years. Along with bringing my daughter to the daycare, the gym has been our home, our place to work out, support each other, and most of all, stay healthy. Why would you want to take that away from so many people in this town? I have so much more to say, which I will in a follow-up email. I just wanted to get this email before the 5:30 meeting. Please don't close our gym. Lindsay Whitecotton. My family and I have been going to the rec for 4+ years. We value our relationships with our fitness family and attribute our overall health and wellness to our 5-day-a-week workout schedule. We've never been in better shape. Please consider increasing prices before you close. Tori, I had no idea how to say her last name. It's spelled Nefores. I was shocked to hear of the sudden possible closure of rec. The Westminster Family Center is my home away from home, and the thing I was looking forward to most after quarantine has ended. Please don't shut it down. I know many members, myself included, who would do anything to keep it open. Fundraisers, raising membership fees, etc. There is such a great sense of community love there, and to see it go would truly be a loss to all. Help us find a way to reopen those doors when the time is right. Aubrey Schwartzbeck. As a family of first responders, we value the Westminster Rec and their staff. We will be deeply saddened to see the gym that keeps our family fit and healthy to help the community in other ways. Please consider upping the membership fees before closing the doors. Julia Smith. I just saw tonight's budget meeting and wanted to share how deeply important this gym is to me. I have never felt such a sense of community. Please do not close this place. Ginger Santoni. I am writing as I just found out that there is a possibility that the gym may be closing down due to funding. This is absurd and seems super shady to do this while none of the members are able to come and speak or barely knew it was happening. I think closing the gym would be detrimental to the Westminster City area, since not only do many people use it for the gym, but I know they offer great camps in the summer for kids as well as rent it for basketball teams. Please reconsider closing the gym at this time and let the members know the concerns of why you feel this should be closed. Carrie Noller. Dear Mayor and City Council, my husband and I have been Westminster owners since 2004. My husband joined the Westminster Family Center soon after that, and I did a while later as well. The fitness center is such an asset to our city, such a welcoming and comfortable place to work out and build a community with others. The staff and trainers do an amazing job of encouraging us. The daycare staff has been great for our kids, and whenever I brought friends during the January and February fitness challenge, they couldn't believe how much value we get for our gym membership costs. I know the building is old and it has its issues, but that's really part of the charm. Having a city-owned facility in the walking distance of everywhere in downtown is a major reason why we have continued to live in the city and pay higher taxes than people just over the city line. Please, please, please continue to support this city feature in the city budget. Let's see. Stephanie Fogarty. To whom this concerns, my name is Stephanie Fogarty, and my family and I are members of the gym that is Westminster Recreation. I beg you to not sell or close down this establishment. My family and I have been members at this gym for 4 years now, and not only have we developed relationships and friendships there, it is a place of comfort for us. It will affect every single member of our family. Please keep it open. Do not take away such a vital and important place that not only helps me or us physically, but mentally as well. Thank you for your time. Juliet. I don't have a last name for this one, so I do apologize. To whom it may concern, I am sending this email in hope to help persuade you to not close the Family Recreation Center. It is another home for so many of us. I went when I was in college and started coming again now that I am a mother of 2. It is a place I trust to have my children taken care of when I work out and get a little alone time to myself. I have met so many wonderful people I now consider my close friends at the Family Center. If there is any way possible you can reconsider and help keep the gym open for the community, it would be a huge benefit to everyone. Westminster has some bad parts to it, and the Family Center brings a lot of good to the community. Thank you for your time. I truly hope you read everyone's emails and take our thoughts into consideration. Elise Davis. To whom it may concern, as a volunteer at the community, I value Westminster Rec as a gym to keep me fit and healthy. Please consider upping the membership fees before closing the doors. I love the gym and the community as it is created. Christy Wilson. Please don't close our gym. As a public servant and mom, I cannot tell you how much the few months I have been a member has changed my life. It is one of the only places locally that I can afford to bring my children and get a quality workout. The staff has been beyond wonderful, and the trainers are supporting us through all this time without the facility. Beyond the improvement of my physical health, I have found my mental health to be much better. This facility provides such a well-rounded variety of classes. I have benefited from the piece of yoga and the push from the trainers in the high-intensity classes and cycle. There is a wide variety of ages and fitness levels that utilize the facility. I have never been made to feel awkward or out of place like other gyms. My kids absolutely love the child care staff. I feel safe leaving them, and they always ask to stay longer. In a time of such change and uncertainty, please allow the gym to remain a part of our lives. Please show your support for physical and mental health of your local community and the safety of our children. Let's see. Donna Jean Shibunko. It would be nice to keep our gym open, but I understand if that is not cost effective. Melanie Williams. I just saw there is a meeting to possibly close the Family Fitness Center. My son and I go there, and we love this place. We love the people there. We have made amazing friends there. We will be so sad if it closes. Please don't close the gym. It's already been so hard missing this place so much over the last 6 weeks. Megan Kavanaugh. To whom it may concern, our family joined the gym a little over 2 years ago, right before I had our 4th baby. The staff was so welcoming and accommodating to our growing family. It has been such a blessing to be able to work out at the gym, knowing the kids were in good hands. I had baby number 5 in November and was so excited to get back to my routine, knowing the baby would be cared for by the best staff. Not only are my kids cared for, but I was taken care of by the best instructors. Sorry. They have become not only friends, but like family to me. The gym is an important part of this community to so many. Thank you for your time. Alyssa Dick. Hi, I am shocked and appalled to hear that the closing of my beloved gym and place of mental refuge is being discussed. The WFC is more than a gym to me. It is my family and how I got my life back after going through some difficult times. I'm not alone in this belief, as most other members feel that this place is their sanctuary too. In addition, there is no equally affordable facility available to community members, especially for families. This will be a devastating blow to those who are members and many who consider this family center community not just a place for families to utilize, but a place where the members have truly become a family. I urge you, please keep our family center open. And that's the last one. I believe you had 2 others, Joe. I'm looking for those now of what I had sent you.
I want the public to realize that a lot of these came in at the last second. So, the record will stay open past this meeting. And, we can obviously, we will look over these, but if something did get missed that came in at the last second or during the meeting, just know that, our clerk, Ms. Zoxy, is doing the best she can to make sure that, all the comments are read, but, there a lot of them were coming in the last second. So let me know when you find those, Shannon. In the meantime,
sorry, I have them right now. I just want to.
Okay, go ahead and read those.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and read the one from it was Nicholas Wegman. He stated, and this actually has nothing to do with the family center. This is something different. So this was, he was concerned to hear from the city council that the fiber project is not self-supporting at this time, and I agree with council comments during last week's meeting that promoting the fiber network should be a top priority of the city for the economic development. My question for the public hearing is the $80,000 grant to Magic funded by the general fund or from the state loan proceeds. Is it? I think Magic can add great value to the city with its hashtag Silicon Main Street concept, and I think that should be fully encompassed with the city's other economic development activities. The next one was from Kevin Wegman. At the other night's meeting, there was a slide on Parks and Rec's gym numbers. One number that stood out to me was the 75% of gym members were not city residents. That seems like an economic development success that we are bringing in revenue from outside of the city, not only to the gym, but perhaps those non-city resident gym members coming into the city to work out are also supporting local businesses before or after the workout. Additionally, the city staff that work at the gym also do a lot of coordination work for the city parks and recreation events, strolls, runs, summer camps, etc. The gym staff hands out all the packets and answers phone calls about those city events. The gym provides a lot of benefit to the city of Westminster that is not fully captured in the bottom linear numbers on the balance sheet. We need the gym for the people. The city has many projects going on, updating the pool, the Stockdale property redevelopment, Wakefield Valley, Ting, and new city office building, the water sewer plant, and many others. So we do have a lot going on. I am grateful that we as a city are thinking forward, but we also need some basics like the gym. And that was it.
Okay, so first off, thank you very much for reading all those.
You're welcome.
That's unusual as one of your roles. That was a long list. First of all, just to give some context, there have been some one-on-one discussions about this. It's something that has been talked about for the last couple of years. And this meeting is going to have a discussion about it. And if depending on what happened, it would be, what happens with the fitness center would be part of the adoption of this year's budget, which there is some time between now and then for the public to voice their opinion if they would like. This isn't a situation where you cannot voice your opinion after this meeting and it'll just fall on deaf ears. It won't. You can continue to send in emails. You can continue to, comment on the live Facebook feed. There are ways, you can reach out to elected officials. This isn't open and shut by any means, but we are going to discuss it tonight. We'll be closing the public hearing here in a second to move on with the rest of the agenda, which will include a discussion about the fitness center. So does anyone, do any council members want to make any comments before we close out the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman?
I've just noticed that there's been a lot of comments on social media, and look, I mean, we are listening to you because I've been watching, our comments, and there's been some comments about the meeting not being advertised. Can somebody confirm to me when this was advertised, just so the people on social media who are watching do know when that was and where they could have found it?
Ms. Matthews, do you have that? I mean, at the last meeting that we had, we talked about it. It was before that, so this has been public at least for several days that this meeting was going to happen. Now, that being said, obviously the majority of the comments were regarding the fitness center, and I want to be clear: it's the fitness center that we've discussed, not the family center. And we'll get into that in more detail after the public hearing, but. The meeting itself has, it met public meeting law standards, and it's been, that's been advertised as it's supposed to be. Does anyone else have any comments? I don't know if someone has found the date that it was advertised, but to answer Councilman Yingling's question, but if not, does anyone have any other comments? Okay, I just want to give everyone a second. It takes time to unmute.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Kavashi.
So I know we're going to get into a discussion relative to this as we move forward. Incredibly challenging decision, but there was a comment made at one point by one of the people that wrote in, and I want to make a comment on it. Certainly, you and I have had a couple disagreements over the 3 years that we've served together. We've also seen eye to eye on a lot of things over those 3 years, but I don't believe for one second any decision or influence that you may have in this decision is being born out of some type of personal gain or something that you're going to benefit from in any way, shape, or form. I think that's inaccurate, and I think it's unfair to you. This is a tough decision, not one that is being taken lightly, and I just felt it incumbent upon me to comment on that fact, especially given the fact that, it's obvious in the public that you and I certainly have had a few differences and a lot of in common, but I think that's unfair. And I just felt like I wanted to comment on that.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else? Councilman Gilbert, or Councilwoman Gilbert, did you have something to say? I heard you speak.
Yeah, I did, but I don't know if you want to save this. I actually had a question for Ms. Gruber, and I guess a couple questions.
Well, so I guess just so we're keeping separate, if it has to do with the public hearing or any of the comments or anything that people were saying, I think now's the time.
Okay.
If not, if it's a question about the actual discussion,
Yep.
I think we should wait because we should discuss the whole what the discussion is in the first place before we get on that road. So I mean, use your best judgment. And
Okay, I'll wait.
Wait. Okay.
Okay, I can wait.
Okay.
But Mr. Mayor,
Councilman.
I wanted to echo the remarks by Councilman Kovaci. I don't think that those comments were very fair at all.
I mean, I agree. People are allowed their opinions and they're allowed to make.
They're allowed their opinion.
Yep. So, okay. I guess I think that's everybody. And we will go ahead and close out. Well, we're not going to close out the public record on this. We'll leave this open. Ms. Matthews or Council President Pecoraro, do you have any advice on how long we should keep this open?
We have another council meeting on Monday. I think we need time to get it done. So I would suggest leaving it through close of business on maybe Thursday, and that would give Ms. Fiskowski the chance to compile them all and share them with us on Friday.
Okay, let's keep the let's keep this the public record open until end of business on Thursday. And that being said, we will close out this public hearing. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we need to emphasize that we really need to hear from folks about this, about the budget and about the fitness center and the family center. So we really want to encourage comments and feedback.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Are you finished, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I am.
Right.
So, you can, Mr. President, it's your meeting.
All right, thank you very much. So we will go right back to you for a report from the mayor. If you have anything else you'd like to share.
No, I think we should get into it. I think when we start the discussion about the various pieces of the agenda, I would like to talk then. I think everything that I have to say has to do with the agenda items. So I'll wait till then. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll move on now to council comments. This is an opportunity for council members to make comments on anything they care to that may not necessarily be on the agenda. We'll just go down the list metaphorically as if we were at the council table, and we'll start with Mr. Dayhoff. Anything you'd like to comment upon, Mr. Dayhoff?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gilbert?
Nope.
Thank you. Mr. Kovaci?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'll try to be brief. We've got some tough decisions to make. The last meeting was lengthy, but by and large, I felt like the decisions weren't too overly challenging, although very important, although some of those topics probably as the years progress will become more challenging. But a couple of things, obviously, this evening, and we've already gotten a prelude to that based on public comment, we've got to make some challenging decisions. But I guess one of the things that I would like to make a comment about is that every choice that we make comes down to directing our dollars in the best way that we possibly can. And some of those choices are always incredibly difficult. And I think some of the choices we're going to make this evening are related to some of the comments that were made last week, which is about investing in our people. And I think that one of the tough decisions we're facing is how do we fund some of the things that we would like to do relative to phase 3 of the pay study and implementing some of the things that we would like to do, maybe even a little above and beyond what's already proposed in the budget. And I just hope everyone will keep that in mind, that that plays a large part in what we're trying to do here. It's not easy. There's always competing items for these resources, and often there's no great choice, just trying to make the least painful choice in many cases. That's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Mr. Yingling, anything you'd like to mention?
Just that as a kind of a follow-up to our last meeting, I reached out to Mr. Dodge and Ms. Matthews and the mayor and you, Mr. President, and we've got our first economic development meeting scheduled for, I believe, next week with Mr. Dodge, doing it virtually. I know that there was a large interest from Magic and their board to better strategize with the city on leveraging the fiber project and the economic development opportunities. So that is on the books for next week, and I'll be prepared to make a report to you all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yingling. And I just wanted to mention that, totally off these other topics, that there was a very nice piece in this morning's Carroll County Times. I think it was this morning's. I read it online, and it's hard to tell whether it's today's or yesterday's, but it was with a little feature with our acting Corporal Ashley Stallman. I thought it was a very well done piece, and Corporal Stallman did a nice job answering the questions and representing the city police department. I think it's important that we recognize that these folks are out there in what are difficult times for us all, with a particularly difficult job, and I think almost to a person, they're handling it very well, with a lot of grace, and I think she's certainly one of the bright stars of our officer force, but pleased that so many like her are doing a great job right now. So thank you. Chief, I think you're on, please pass your appreciation on to everybody. It was a nice article, and I think it's representative of our force.
I will, thank you.
Sure. And with that, we will move on. There is no unfinished business of which I am aware for the agenda, so we'll move back on to new business. The topic continues to be part 2 of our work session regarding the fiscal year 2021 budget proposal. And we will turn now to Ms. Matthews to catch us up on the topics for discussion tonight. Ms. Matthews?
Thank you, President Pecoraro. Have just a brief presentation. Can you just give me just a minute? As was noted earlier, this is the second, and as things stand tonight, currently your final scheduled work session related to the FY 2021 budget proposal. There are 2 scheduled work session topics tonight, but obviously staff would be more than happy to respond to questions that you all have on any other topic. The 2 scheduled items are potential improvements to the Westminster Pool Complex, and as was noted earlier, a discussion about the Family Fitness Center. Staff did develop these 2 topics in conjunction with the members of the Finance Committee during our deliberations. So regarding the pool complex improvements, I think as you all know, this is more for the benefit of the audience. We undertook a facility audit of the Westminster Pool Complex in FY 2019. There were 2 primary goals. One was to get an assessment of our future maintenance needs so we could plan accordingly financially, and the other was also to get some cost information about some potential enhancements to the complex that have been talked about for a number of years. As you all know, we hired Lathorian LLC to conduct that facility audit, and the firm presented its findings to you on August 26th of last year. As things currently stand in the budget, and this is obviously part of the reason we're having this discussion this evening is to get your thoughts on this, but we have included just under $3 million for improvements at the complex in the budget as proposed. That roughly $3 million breaks down as follows. One was a pool within a pool installation. As you likely recall from Lathorian's presentation, we do have some leaks in our main pool. We also have included in the budget funding for new plumbing, filtration equipment, and a new filtration building. Other enhancements are the possible installation of a new splash pad, a new learning pool, certain renovations to a number of other components to the complex, including the staff office, the locker rooms, the concession stand, things of that nature. And then we have included some funding, and this is just a best guess estimate of possible assistance with engineering, putting together bid specifications for the project, as well as potential inspection services. The grand total of that, once again, is just under $3 million. As proposed, we have included the full scope of work in the FY 2021 budget draft. It anticipates that all this work would be done as one project. I would be remiss if I didn't note that the work that is shown on the slide can certainly be phased. And in fact, the initial budget submission by Ms. Gruber and her staff was that items 1 and 2, which would be the pool within the pool and the new plumbing, filtration equipment, and filtration building, were anticipated as the first phase, with all other items being at some future date. The budget does assume that we will be using bond financing for the improvements, and one of the reasons why Ms. Palmer and I chose to sort of roll everything up into one was at least to put it out there for your consideration. Anytime you bond, you are trying to time when bond issuances are actually occurring through the Maryland Community Development Administration, and there are also costs associated with bonding. And so there may be some efficiencies both from a bonding standpoint and from a construction standpoint. If we were to do the full scope, and I think you should take these numbers for what I believe they are, which is a rough order of magnitude, Ms. Palmer and I anticipate the annual debt service would be somewhat in the range of $185,000 to $200,000. Once again, these numbers should be viewed as sort of just a rough guideline. Things that would drive what the anticipated debt service actually ends up being would be the scope of the improvements and, by extension, the cost of that work, what the interest rates are at the time the CDA would issue the bonds, as well as how many other jurisdictions participate, because there are some fixed costs in terms of bond counsel and things of that nature. The fewer entities that participate, the greater the cost that the city would bear. We did preliminarily include a financing application with the CDA. This was done by Ms. Palmer and myself after discussion with the Finance Committee. That preliminary application is non-binding. It was due on April 10th and was simply submitted to basically convey to the Maryland CDA of the city's potential interest in participating in any issuance. I checked with the CDA today. At this point, they have 8 jurisdictions, including Westminster, that have expressed some interest in a possible bond issuance. They would likely be moving forward in either late June or early July. Some of this will depend on kind of market stability at that time. I did inquire whether or not they anticipated doing another issuance in the fall. Sometimes they do that as well. At this juncture, they don't have any specific plans to do another issuance in the fall. Obviously, your budget discussion points are the extent of the improvements that you all may be interested in seeing done at the pool. And if we are to proceed with any improvements, there would need to be an identified financing mechanism for paying any debt service. So with that, Council President Pecoraro, with your concurrence, I'm just going to go ahead and take the presentation down so you all can discuss this matter.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. I had a question. I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to scroll through this in the packet that I was sent to find the slide again. But when we were looking at the options, as I recall, and it's been quite a while since we had the presentation by the consultant. The drop-in pool. Well, the critical need is the pool itself is leaking badly and has some other structural problems. And the lowest cost alternative to me, as I recall, seemed to be the drop-in pool shell. Isn't that correct?
I'm going to defer to either Ms. Gruber or Ms. Mullendor because they're certainly much more familiar with the specifics,
right.
But that does sound correct to me.
Right, Ms. Gruber, if you're on, wasn't that the case? Not sure if she can hear me or respond? Or Ms. Mullendore, either of you?
I just unmuted Ms. Gruber, so I think she is able to talk now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is Heather here. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mullendorf. I'm sorry, we're not able to hear Ms. Gruber at the moment, but can you speak to that?
Yes. So the pool within a pool, yes, that was the cheapest option, and there was a few different options in what they had offered, but there was only one option that came with a structural warranty. And then the other thing that comes from that pool within a pool is once we already have that dug up, it's better to go ahead and do the filtration system, and that's why we included that in with that original one. So we wanted to do the pool within a pool and filtration system in the same repair, and that's just because also our filters are just now meeting the standards, but pretty soon they're going to be changing those standards, and then our filters will not meet that standard anymore.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So, so if as we look at this, and I'll go to the other members here in a minute. I'm just trying to get for my own perfect my own understanding. The key is to make the pool, I think, both structurally sound enough to hold water and be usable, and to be to make sure that the water is clean and filtered, and safe for everybody. And then the third important thing is to make sure that the environment, the workspace, is safe for the staff who have to deal with some of the mechanical issues, changing the filters or adding the chemicals and things like that. And that was something that needed to be done as well, wasn't it?
Mr. Pecoraro, may I?
Yeah, please do.
This is Tammy Palmer. The initial capital request that came in from Parks and Recreation was for phase one, which was for $1,032,000. That included the pool within the pool and the filter system. The second phase would be $538,000, and I believe that was made up of renovations for a, hold on one second here, I'm reading a form. Subsequent renovations and upgrades would include the splash pad and the addition of the learning pool. That makes up the 538. And then the third phase would be $1 million, and that included the pool office, the locker rooms, the patron drop-off area, a snack bar, and a community room.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Would anyone? So I think that helps me with my understanding of where we stand. Who would like to be heard? Anybody have any questions?
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
So I'm not going to get into phase 1, 2, and 3 yet. I think just overarching as a comment, the pool, I think, provides a service that is somewhat limited in the community. There aren't very many pool options out there. And the other options that I'm aware of are significantly more expensive. So I do feel like the pool's important, and that we ought to keep it healthy, keep it up, keep it running. And however we choose to do that in terms of the phasing or all at once or whatever, obviously we can talk about that this evening. But I guess I just wanted to make the comment that I do think we need to do at least some of this, if not all of it, to keep it operational and healthy. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Anyone else?
Mr. President?
Mr. Yingling.
Yeah. Couple questions. How many members of the pool are there? Anybody? Question for staff. How many pool members do we have?
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't know that information.
Mr. President, while we're waiting for staff to come up with that number, Mr. Yingling, it's my understanding that there are two types of users of the pool. There
Gotcha.
are those that have a membership, and then there's, I think, a relatively significant number that come in on a daily basis, unlike the Y or the riding club, that at least the riding club, which I'm familiar with, there is no, you have to be a member to go. The community pool is open to the public, so I don't necessarily think that a significant portion of the users of the facility are necessarily members. But I'm sure Ms. Gruber or Ms. Mullendorf can enlighten us a little more as to how that works.
Mr. President?
Just one, Ms. Gilbert. I'm sorry, did anybody from the staff have an answer to Mr. Yingling's question?
Yes, this is Ms. Mullendorf here. I am going to say that it's around 1,400 members to the pool, and 76% of our members are residents and 24% are non-residents.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Mullendorf. Mr. Yingling.
Just a follow-up question. So that's 1,400 members that are, as Mr. Cavacci, those are 1,400 members, but that includes like a family, you know, if they have 3 kids. But do we have any, like, I'm trying to get a sense of the fees associated with the dues, like what that revenue looks like.
So is your question what our family membership and what our individual membership costs?
Yeah, yeah, if you give me that, that'd be good.
Okay, so we actually just raised our fees for the pool.
Right.
And currently our city resident individual memberships are $139, and our city resident family memberships, which is up to 6 people, is $235. And then our non-resident individual membership is $169. And then our non-resident family membership, which is again up to 6 people, is $315. Additional dependents, if there are some in the family, age 18 and under, for a city resident is $20 and a non-resident is $30. We also have punch cards available, which would be for 10 visits to the pool, which is $55. And then our daily admission fee is $7, and children under 2 are free with a paid adult.
And Mr. Yingling, you may recall we set those rates just a few months ago.
Right.
And the staff came to us with a recommendation, and we had considerable conversation about that in the Finance Committee.
Mr. President?
Ms. Gilbert.
First, I wanted to add a couple things. The pool is also obviously the home of our swim club and also used by our summer camp participants. So I want to kind of add that into the usage of our city pool. But I had a couple questions, and I don't know if Ms. Mullendorf can answer that. And obviously, I don't think we're in connection with Ms. Gruber, but I wanted to know, one, when we did because I have actually the report on the pool. Is there any way that any part of that can be enclosed so that we can use the facility all year round instead of just for a short term? Or I guess, or any way that we can increase the summertime use of the pool, say earlier in May and later into September? Is that even possibility so that we can get further use? And I did understand, and I guess this is another comment, when we were talking originally about the pool and we received the report, a large part of the new changes to the pool, or the possible new changes to the pool, is that our swim club could then practice longer. We could actually end up hosting meets, which would then increase our revenue on the pool. Is that not correct, Miss? Well, we don't have Miss Gruber here, so Parks and Rec. Is that not correct?
Yes, that is correct. As far as our swim team currently has a wait list of 50 people that we are unable to satisfy based off of the size of our facility. And with that new lap pool, we could accommodate more swimmers and also host larger meets. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
When they came around to give us the estimate and the idea of the new pool and the choices that we would have, was there any talk, or is there a possibility that anything could be enclosed that we could use it year round? Say the lap pool or something that could just be enclosed. I'm thinking the lap pool because it's the furthest pool that's away from everything. I'm just asking.
Whenever they were here, we did not discuss anything like that as far as options go, but I'm sure that, there would be an option for that to be in play, but we would have to have heaters and everything like that, because as we stand right now, we currently shut off all of our water and winterize just because of the temperature that we get in the wintertime. So I think that anything could be a possibility, but it's definitely not included in the prices in which that we proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. President.
Mr. Yingling.
I apologize. When you were commenting, my internet connection went down, and I heard nothing. I remember you said, yes, we adopted these pool rates, but then my whole thing froze up. So I did have just one more question, if I may.
Ms. Gilbert, were you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Yingling.
Well, it's more of a comment. So I think that, as you, Mr. President, said in one of our finance committee meetings, is, the pool does provide a public good. And, I do believe that we should, do kind of what are the critical infrastructure repairs to it. Is what we're hearing from Parks and Rec is they kind of have to be done, employee safety, and then a leaky pool doesn't make any sense. All right. But I think maybe, in my opinion, the focus needs to be, okay, where are we, that's going to require, even if we bond out $1 million, not $3 million, it's still going to generate like debt service. So I guess kind of my question is, all right, well, where in the budget could we find that money? And or how are we going to get it as a whatever we do? So that's kind of where I'm looking for the ideas to say, okay, well, how are we going to pay for whatever repairs we do, whether it's the $3 million one, whether it's Ann's idea, or whether we just fix the leaky pool. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yingling. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
I think that, when it comes to the choices between phasing, I'd like to talk about that for just a second. I'd proffer that considering we're bonding this project out, that going into the budget as a bonded event, I think gives us some flexibility relative to going forward, as Ms. Matthews has kind of intimated, where we go look for the bonding of the full project, see what that cost is going to be, what kind of bond rates we can get, offers we have in terms of time and length and things like that. And then we would be able to go ahead and make a decision at a later date. We don't have to make that decision today in terms of how we're going to phase that. I think we can spend more time looking at that, thinking about what those costs are going to mean, and to Mr. Yingling's question, how we're going to pay for those things. We may find that by the time we're going to market with the bonding, that it's incredibly favorable, or maybe not as favorable as what we think it's going to be. And that may affect our decision as well. So I think we ought to leave it in the budget as it's set currently, with it being the full Monty in terms of the project. And then we can go in at a future date and make some decisions on which one of those phases, or how many of them, I guess I should say, we want to include when we get to that point. Does that make sense?
It does. My questions at the outset were just to establish the idea that that phasing was possible, and it was important to know what work needed to be done sooner rather than later. in order to keep the pool operational, because I think it's important that we understand that as we go forward with whatever planning we're doing. Anyone else wish to be heard?
I have one more question.
Ms. Gilbert?
Because I agree with Councilman Cavacci. I like the idea of just going ahead and leaving it sit in the budget as it is, and then phasing it in if we so desire, or however it works fiscally. But I have a question with timing, and I don't know the answer. One is whether or not the pool will be opened or not this summer, question number one. And will that affect how we may do phase one in the repairs, and how expedient we need to be with that decision-making process?
All right.
Mr. President, I could probably answer at
Mr.
least some of
Cavacci.
that.
Sure.
So first of all, obviously, bonding is a lengthy process. So none of this is going to happen for this season. I did talk to Ms. Gruber at some point over the past relatively recent time period and asked that question in terms of, are we able to open the pool up this year safely, and COVID aside. So forget about the whole COVID situation. Assuming there's no COVID, assuming we can open the pool up, everything's normal, the answer I received was yes, that the pool can be opened up. It can function this summer for this season, with what's there, and them continuing to kind of band-aid things to an extent. Obviously, COVID changes that, but I did want to at least interject with that, Mr. President, since I had that information.
Okay, that's the answer I was kind of going with, and basically how fast we need to make a decision between maybe this year and next year.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dehoff.
I agree that we ought to, I agree with Councilman Cavacci and Councilwoman Gilbert that we ought to just leave it in the budget as it is, because I think what I'm seeing down the road is that determining how it is that we're going to proceed, that's a meeting all to itself. There's a lot of complexity to it, and there are an awful lot of decisions to make. If we just leave it in the budget as a placeholder, I believe that's the way to go about it. And it's a long, drawn out process. I've been through quite a number of bonds. It's quite an exhausting process. And I definitely believe that we ought to bond it out, because I want to pay it back in future discounted dollars, and I want to spread that repayment back out over the lifetime of the asset and among the folks who are going to enjoy the asset. So I think that's the most frugal way to go about it. I suggest that we just leave it be. I think a meeting as to how it is that we proceed with the pool is going to be a very long meeting, and there's lots of questions. I have lots of questions about bond repayment, and a number of particulars, and actually a number of exciting ideas have come up also as to how to go about it, and what facilities we need to build, and that sort of thing. So perhaps we have a consensus on that, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dehoff. Any further comments?
Thank you.
President Pecoraro, the only thing that I would just add is, and I know there's been some concerns about bonding, not suggesting that this is what you want to do in any way, shape, or form. I think the number of comments about just leaving the budget as is, because this is a fairly complex subject, I think are very valid. In terms of possibly participating in the state CDA program for the bond issuance that we anticipate, may be the only one this calendar year, that decision-making window is much shorter, because once again, the state is looking at this time at least of going out to pricing probably within the next 60 days.
Okay.
So I just want to ask you to keep that in mind if this is something that you're considering in the nearer term. That may be one of the timing issues driving your special meeting that Councilmember Dehoff, I think, wisely suggested.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
Ms. Matthews, my understanding is if we move forward, they'll go out, they'll shop the amount that we come up with for us. But will we be beholden at that point to take all of it that we've shopped out there, or would we be able to, if we decided to take a reduced amount, if that's the course we decide to take?
Ms. Palmer, please correct me if I misspeak, but typically there is a decision-making window that would precede the state going out to the marketplace, because at that point, they're actually marketing the bonds. So having entities that are not fully committed for the amount that they're getting ready to issue would be problematic. That's my recollection, is I don't think we're there yet. We, as part of the preliminary application, did make it clear that we had no idea whether or not the mayor and common council were fully committed to that full scope of work. But I think by the time the state goes out to pricing, which is roughly 45 to 60 days out, at least based on the information we have as today, I believe at that juncture we would be committed. Ms. Palmer, is that correct based on your recollection of other CDA issuances?
That is correct. Imagine if you were financing a $70 million project and the city shopped those rates, and then they went back to the market and said, well, we're only actually going to borrow $20 million. It affects the rates in a negative impact. And so you have to be in it, you know, for the long haul once they shop the rates, for sure.
Thank you. That answers my question. What I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. Thank you.
And so two things. One is that in terms of bonding, you know, with the Fed having cut the their rate down, you know, to zero, I imagine that you know, the bond markets, you know, if anybody is doing financings, you know, the rates are pretty good right now. Opportune time to think about doing that.
Mr. President.
I think if I just one moment, Mr. Dehoff. Sure. So Ms. Gruber has indicated that she may be able to be heard at this point, and we've you know, I just wanted to give her a chance to add anything that we might have missed that she wanted to share, if in fact she is able to be heard.
Good evening. This is Ms. Gruber. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. I think Ms. Mullendore did a fantastic job covering all of the information that was requested during the questions. So I don't have anything further to add to the discussion about the pool at this time.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Dehoff.
I missed, what time frames are we looking at? When do we need to make a decision about getting in the bond pool? What is the drop dead date?
Well, so two factors are important here. One is that the state is going to be moving forward with this issuance, you know, this summer, so we need to do that over the next month or two. The second is that we'll be adopting the budget in the next few weeks, and so, you know, if we want to do this, then we need to plan for it as part of the budgeting process as well. So we've got both those dynamics going on. Ms. Palmer, do you want to add any specificity to those dates?
I don't have any specifics on the CDA issuance, but I suspect that it's less than 60 days.
Yeah, and if I may add to Ms. Palmer's comments, I think what the information I received earlier today from the CDA is that they were looking at pricing late June, early July. So I do believe Ms. Palmer is correct that the window is probably a little bit shorter than that full time period, because the state would need to know whether we're in and whether we're out on you know, the full amount that we submitted to them. I think, as has been pointed out on the budget front, at this point, any debt service that we would likely incur if the bonds were basically sold this summer would be negligible. So I think you should feel comfortable, as many of you have suggested, of just leaving at this point the budget as is, because it's bonding dollars in and expenditures out. But I would suggest that perhaps we schedule a meeting, you know, in the fairly near future for you all to have a more robust discussion. And as I believe Councilmember Dehoff recommended, that be perhaps just a sole, you know, single topic discussion, just so you can sort of hash this out.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So I take it, you know, for the purposes of the workshop, Ms. Matthews and Ms. Palmer, that you know, there's enough support for moving forward with the project to do so, and to leave whatever is in the budget in there, and to begin working on the on the bonding package. Is that correct, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah,
Right.
and to schedule a meeting to kind of delve into it.
Right, and we will follow up and have a discussion about the actual phasing of the pool project itself as well.
Yes.
in the future.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
And we still need, and we will need to pass a resolution to that effect also.
Well, yeah, and that'll come to us in
Right.
appropriate time.
Right. But if we're going to schedule it, we need to schedule it sooner than later. You're correct about the bond rates. They're going to be quite favorable. But I guess to go back to Mr. Cavacci's question, once we start renting the money, we have to pay the debt service on it. So we will need to expedite that process just a bit, because not only do we need to determine exactly what it is that we want to accomplish, but then we need to go through the process of bidding the project out and that sort of thing. So it can get pretty complicated pretty quickly, and we need to move in a relatively short amount of time. I don't want to be renting money and having it just sit there and not doing anything.
I think Councilmember Dayhoff's comments are very informed, and I would also note that typically once you get bond proceeds, there's actual specific timelines in which you need to start drawing down the funds.
Very specific.
Right. What we can do tomorrow is I will basically reach out to our contact at the CDA and get a more specific timeline in terms of when your actual drop dead date is, and then work with the mayor and the council president to sort of work backwards in terms of when to schedule your follow-up meeting, if that's acceptable to everyone.
I think it is. Mr. Yingling, did you have a comment you were trying to make?
No, I'm comfortable. I'm not overly comfortable with it, because I mean, it just seems like now we're being rushed into making decisions on a potential $3 million project. But I, as Ms. Matthews said, she feels comfortable going forward, at least shopping the bond. I'm okay with it. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm okay with it.
And I think one of the critical elements, I believe, of your discussion, which I know Councilmember Yingling explicitly raised during the Finance Committee meetings and discussions about this topic, is I think there's a number of elements that many of you have raised. One is certainly the scope of the improvements, but a critical part of all this is how you would propose to pay for the debt service. And the scope of the improvement directly ties to what the debt service amount is. So Ms. Palmer and I will work with Ms. Mullendore and Ms. Gruber, as well as the state, and we'll try to pull as much information as we can together for you all. So, and try to get that out to you well in advance of any meeting.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
And then also, maybe someone needs to bring me up to speed. Years ago, we had bond counsel, but
and we still do.
Okay, those costs are going to be over $10,000. Are we going to have to follow the procurement law, or we're going to have to weigh that in also?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Matthews.
No, I think Councilmember Dayhoff raised an excellent point, because our bond counsel has been Lindsay Rader with Funk and Bolton since as long as I've been with the city, and I believe before that. Because it is a professional service, you are not required to bid that, but that's a great question.
Well, we used to use Whiteford Taylor, and I think they did a good job for us also.
Yes, they're an excellent firm as well.
Yes. So we have that decision to make also, in addition to all the other. And of course, I can't emphasize enough how complicated the bond process is. So if we're going to do this, and we want to do it, this year, we're going to have to pivot pretty quickly.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Cavacci, were you?
I was just going to comment that I've had the pleasure of working with Ms. Rader a number of times over my time in office, and she's outstanding. Also, the most articulate person I've ever heard speak.
Good.
She's done an outstanding job for us over the last several times we've gone to the bond market. So, anything else on this?
Not on this topic from staff, Council President Pecoraro. Would you like me to move on with the budget presentation?
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone see this or not?
Yes, we can. I
Okay,
can.
thank you. Just wanted to be sure. So the second scheduled topic of the evening is the Family Fitness Center, which obviously there's been a number of public comments coming in late this afternoon, as Ms. Sosowski emphasized. So just kind of a couple points. The revenues from the Family Fitness Center obviously consist of membership fees. I think as one or more of you alluded to earlier in the discussion, the majority of the Family Fitness Center members are not residents of the City of Westminster. They reside outside our corporate limits. The operational cost of the Family Center are tracked in what is referred to in budgetary terms as a separate cost center. Virtually all the costs for the Family Fitness Center are personnel related, and those consist of both benefited staff positions as well as non-benefited staff members. Our non-benefited staff members would include child care attendants, fitness center attendants, those who sit at the front and desk and kind of swipe members in, our group fitness instructors, and our yoga instructors. This is the chart you all have seen before. This is operating cost only, and this is a history of the Family Center revenue and expenditure history for FY 2014, and obviously FY 2020 is a partial year. For the FY 2021 budget as submitted to you all, it reflects an operating deficit of almost $210,000. I do want to note that Ms. Gruber and her staff have taken measures over the past year or so to try to reduce our operational costs, including the budgeted elimination of a benefit position. In the current fiscal year, we had a long-term employee retire in the fall, and that individual was not replaced. One of the challenges that I believe Ms. Gruber and her staff have relative to the Family Fitness Center is it's obviously much less expensive to use multiple non-benefited staff members, but that also can become very managerially cumbersome, both from a scheduling standpoint as well as just a staff turnover. And I think, as some of you all have noted, certainly there's competition in the marketplace in terms of fitness centers. I did want to note, in addition to just the operating cost, is that we do have 2 capital projects specifically related to the operation of the fitness center. There are other capital projects related to just the building. So we have 2 capital projects currently included in the proposed budget. One is just routine equipment replacement of our cardio equipment. Ms. Gruber was trying to spread that out over a number of years so that it doesn't all hit at one time and be more challenging for us budgetarily. I think everyone on the mayor and council is aware that we've had some issues at one of our shower rooms, basically with a wall that is desperately in need of repair. So there's $15,000 included for the equipment replacement and $75,000 in the current capital improvement program for the shower room renovation. I'll just go ahead and go through the slide, Council President Pecoraro, if I can just take this down altogether. Obviously, we're here to answer any other questions, and just as a reminder, as currently scheduled, you're going to be adopting the budget on May 11th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would like to start this?
Mr. President, I would.
Mr. Mayor.
So obviously we have a lot of people interested in this part of the discussion, and I would just like to give some background. So being the only member of the elected body that's been on every committee over the last 3 years, I have seen this discussion take place in finance. I've seen it happen in our Parks and Rec committee, and so I've been there for all the discussions, at least the ones that have been during public meetings. And I just want to give some background as to why we're discussing this now, and attempting to make a decision on this. The last couple of years, we have been looking at I mean, the entire city operation, but as pertaining to the fitness center, ways to improve the amount of money that we've been losing on it. Now, as a city a program, it's not meant to make money. You hope that you get it revenue neutral or at least minimize the cost. So over the years, since I've been here, we've lost between $200,000 and $300,000 every single year on running the fitness center, and it's problematic for a couple of reasons. So the biggest reason that's problematic for me is the ethical reason, which is 75% roughly of the membership there are not city residents. So we have a situation where city taxes that are only paid by property owners in the city and city residents is subsidizing a service that we're losing money on that's largely serving people that are not city taxpayers. So most of the people that are benefiting from the gym are not paying into the pot that's subsidizing their use. And that to me is an ethical dilemma. You see this in other areas from time to time, but nothing is happening in that way that it is, in the city with the fitness center. So we've looked at ways to make it, a better, more sound financially. But almost any decision that we make would lower, decrease membership or cause other issues that would only increase the amount of money and increase the deficit that we're running every year. So like anything else, this decision isn't black and white. It's not, do we keep it open or not? The decision is, what do we do with competing needs? And we have a bunch of competing needs. And I would say that our responsibilities as a city and as the decision makers in the city, we're responsible for our residents and the services that the city provides to them. We're responsible for the staff. As one of the larger employees in the city, we have a responsibility to them. And we have a responsibility to the local businesses that are within the city. And I'm sure you can find some more responsibilities in there, but those are the big ones. And we need to weigh everything out. Now, my priorities have always been a couple of things, and that's provide the best service we can as a city. And, sometimes you have to weigh which services are worth providing in order to continue to provide good service across the board. Also personnel, we have to remember that there's 6 elected officials, and you see the people that do come to our meetings or watch the meetings on Zoom here. You see us, the elected body, you see the very top tier of the staff and the directors and our clerk and our city admin. But there's a whole lot of other staff members that are here, and there are issues that have been lingering here for a while, ever since the recession that we had earlier in the 2000s in 07, 08, with pay and compression and so forth. And that's a problem we've been trying to solve for the last few years. So this isn't whether or not we want to do one thing or not. This is where our priorities and what must we do. When we look at the fitness center, being that we're serving largely people outside the city on the tax, at the expense of taxpayers, we have to consider that heavily in this decision. So some of the things that, looking at our larger budget, in terms of issues and needs, I think that I've really focused on are two main things. The fiber project's one of the largest projects the city's ever done. I think it might be the largest up until we started to construct the ENR project at the wastewater treatment plant. If it isn't, it's got to be close. And it provides a great service to people. Gigabit internet is really important, and I'm sure a lot of people are appreciating it right now while they're locked in at home or spending more time at home, whether it's for work, for school, or in their recreation time when they're watching. Maybe they have 4 family members streaming services. So as a city, elected officials, we always want to say yes to everything. We always want to provide all of the services to everybody, but that's just not it's not in the cards. Fiber is something that again, it was a big undertaking, and it is starting to squeeze the budget. I think it provides a lot of worthwhile benefits, but the cost in which it's affecting or I guess the amount in which it's affecting the budget is going up. It's going to go up in coming years, and we have to take steps to promote the fiber project to minimize that cost. Also, the other big thing is there were lagging pay for our staff. There's lagging pay for our staff, and there's compression issues that we've had lingering since, again, around 2007, 2008, when certain pay freezes went into place, and we're still catching up from that. And this is something, again, that the council has been attempting to fix ever since I got on 3 years ago when we had the pay study. And every year we've implemented a phase of the pay study. In my opinion, the first phase, the very first year, was successful. What we wanted to accomplish with that in moving people into certain buckets of pay that they belonged did make a big impact in certain areas, and it didn't make a big impact in others. And phase 2 and phase 3 were supposed to make impacts in those other phases. And we've done the best we can with the budget that we had. But in my opinion, phases 2 and what's proposed currently for phase 3 have much less of an impact than what occurred in phase 1. And there's not a single member of the elected body that doesn't want to do better, but we're doing what we can. And all these things were part of my decision-making process on what to do. And we have to decide what we're going to be as a city and what we're going to provide. Our Parks and Rec department is wonderful. Some of the best things about the city are provided by them. Our events and our strolls are, in my opinion, the best out there for a city our size. There are plenty of municipalities that are our size that don't do half of the events that we have, and those are wonderful. The summer camps are a great service. The pool's a great service. We offer a lot of things as a city, and we should continue to offer as much as we can. But a lot of those are self-sustaining or close to it, and the pool, in terms of operating, is fairly self-sustaining. We look at those things, and the gym just isn't. The gym industry is getting tougher and tougher, and as a city, even though we're a government, we're still competing against other gyms. And while you have the gym industry going down and down in price, and more gyms are charging $10 a membership, it's getting harder to keep members in our gym. So this is a business decision, but it's also a decision in order that we have to make in order to help in other areas and to move the city forward in other areas. And my two priorities and the two things that I'm going to, my proposal overall is this. I think it's time that we do close down the fitness center, not the whole family center. We're not talking about the camps. There are other things that we offer there that wouldn't be closed down. This isn't closing down the whole building and the whole operation. This is closing the fitness center. We can be more specific in what that means. My proposal is we do that, and I think we have to. And I think we do that, and we take the deficit that the fitness center has been running and we put it toward two areas. I think that we need a higher take rate in the city for fiber. I think we largely have a lower take rate than we can because of a lack of awareness. I think there's a service there that a lot of people could benefit from, and they just don't know how or how much. And I think we need to do a little bit to promote that. That's a fairly small piece of what I'm proposing. I think something around to the tune of $24,000 a year from that $200,000 to $300,000 deficit that we'd be saving if the fitness center closed should be going toward that. And the reason I say that is because that money could clear up more loss in the budget. The higher the take rate is in fiber, the less the revenue and expenditure gap is going to be in fiber, and we can actually shore up the budget in ways doing that. So that could potentially be revenue positive. And that's not something I'm saying we should do ongoing. I'm saying we should do that for a year or two and really get it out there. And then that doesn't have to be a permanent part of the budget, but that's a small part of what I'm proposing. I think the rest of the money, and there could be some costs that still live within Parks and Rec that we'd have to keep in that budget on the admin side. So we may not get the entire amount to allocate elsewhere, but the rest of the money I think should be allocated into implementing further what we've already planned to implement with the PACE study. I think phase 3 is the last phase of our PACE study, and we likely wouldn't have another phase until we have another PACE study. And I think this is our last chance to make a decent impact and to address some of the compression, some of the issues that our staff, who have been here some cases for decades, and at one time had a job maybe they felt was a good paying job, and maybe they don't feel that way anymore. And I think that the way that the city runs, and I know Councilman Yingling has said this, and I know that we all know it and we all feel it, is the city's only as good as the people who work here. And we have a lot of really great staff members here, and a lot of them have been here for a long time. And a lot of them are here because they're loyal to the city. They've done the job for decades, and they need to be treated right. And we also need to recruit new people. You know, we have a lot of people retiring in the city over the last few years and in the coming years. We need to have positions that are competitive in order to get to take those staff members who have done a great job for so long and replace them when they retire. So I think that in order to put the city in the best position possible, we have to serve the residents of the city, the staff of the city first. And the fact that the fitness center is serving mostly people, 3/4 of which aren't in the city, I think that we want to serve everyone. We want to have a good experience for everybody here. But residents outside the city can't come first. It has to be people in the city and people that work here. And I think that I think allocating the money that way is the way to go. And there are a lot of things that went into this decision on my behalf, and the decision isn't made. We have to. We're going to hear, I'm sure, from probably everyone or close to everyone tonight on this. This is a big thing that we've been working on for a couple of years. We've tried to figure out ways to make this work, but now is probably the time to do it. So I just wanted to say my piece, and I'm sure there are plenty of things that are people's heads right now that they want to say. So I will turn it back over to you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Who would like to be heard?
Mr. President.
Mr. Yingling.
So, this is obviously a very difficult decision, as the mayor talked about and Councilman Chiavaci talked about. I'm not going to go into the detail that the mayor did about his points, but he made absolutely excellent arguments. The outside of the city, 75% of the people outside of the city, and then, investing in our people. I think that this is the right decision. I believe that reallocating that money into investing in our employees, specifically, the people who provide us safety and the people who provide, the services that keeps the city going, your basic water and sewer, reinvesting in those areas will greatly benefit the residents, I believe. So I fully support this. I was involved in this discussion, and I am an advocate for the mayor's proposal. That's all, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yingling. Anyone else wish to be heard? I'm not sure if Ms. Gruber is still able to be heard or not. We were able to get some membership numbers for the pool for that earlier conversation. Ms. Gruber, are you able to share with us the membership numbers for the fitness center, and is the breakdown of city to non-city members that far 25, 75, or I thought it was a narrower margin than that?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So the resident versus non-resident split is actually about 40% resident and 60% non-resident. So certainly still the majority are non-resident members. However, the current reportings of the split are certainly a little different than 75-25. I am trying right now to obtain an email that gave us the numbers that were most up to date, however, slightly skewed because of the amount of membership suspensions that we had to do in order to stop payments from coming out during the COVID-19 shutdown. So I am just hoping, and Heather, if you are listening and can find that email faster than me, by all means, chime in.
If you have a pre-COVID crisis total, I think that'll be sufficient.
So I do. Unfortunately, they are on my desk, and I am in my house right now. So it looks like we have about 1,600 members, and that is individually counted. So primary members, we carry about 1,000. And that does not include the number of city employees that are members or our membership from NOR Break.
All right, thank you.
So you're welcome.
All right, so any discussion, further discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Gilbert?
Mr. Mayor, your presentation was wonderful. It definitely, I was kind of on the fence and about this, and your presentation definitely compelling, and I would love to put that money back into our employees. I do, however, have a question for either Ms. Mullendore or Ms. Gruber, because I would like to, and I've even mentioned this to a few of you, in light of possibly closing the fitness center, if that's what we do agree, to have the studio and/or class fitness to maintain that. And is there a possibility or a chance, Ms. Mullendore or Ms. Gruber, that we could possibly do that and see how that goes, whether that would be fiscally beneficial, as in possibly making money off of that, instead of being in the negative and using the main gym where we still would rent the basketball area and or say volleyball or for summer camp or whatever the main gym is going to be used for. Would that possibly be an option?
Mr. President, if I may, this is
Ms.
Abby.
Gruber? Yes, please do.
So certainly there are many options that could be explored to basically look at a different business model. And with not knowing how we'll actually even be able to do business coming out of the pandemic, certainly those items would all be up for discussion. But are there economies that could be achieved by looking at different ways to produce a fitness product to our community still? Yes, I believe that there are certainly opportunities there.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gruber.
Mr.
Anyone else? Ms. Gilbert?
I have one more question.
Yes, please.
So I know we have the capital projects in the budget for the repair of the showers and the bathrooms. Are they still going to be capital projects that we will proceed with if we would choose to not reopen the fitness center?
Well, I believe that's part of the larger conversation that
Okay.
We need to have over the next week or so as we finalize the budget.
Okay, all right.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dehoff?
So years ago, the fitness center was budget neutral as far as operating. We only had to take into consideration the capital costs, and I really don't know what's changed over the years. I'm under the impression the fee scale hasn't been able to keep up with the market and cover the operating expenses. But if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I should disclose that I'm the biggest fan of the fitness center. I'm very uncomfortable about this decision because I think historically we've always had a responsibility to our citizens to provide them with recreational opportunities. But the cold facts is that, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 6 years, we've lost $1.8 million on the fitness center. And it's long beyond the point where that's just simply not sustainable, especially when we're looking at the fiber network, which does bring in economic development and which in theory should at some point in time provide enough return to compensate us for those costs. But we're also looking at the pool, the large deficits that the pool has been running. We're looking at the cost of Wakefield Valley, which are increasingly pretty big. We're looking at personnel costs, which are only increasing. If I'm not mistaken, insurance went up 10% this year, for example. Not to be overlooked are the increased costs with the street department and increased costs with the police department. I mean, at some point in time, something's got to give. And our employees, we've got a lot of extremely good employees that have been with us for a long time. They didn't get a pay raise for many years, a number of years ago, as a result of the recession of 2008. And we find ourselves in a position where our employees are at the bottom of the pay scale when you compare them to other peer municipalities. At some point in time, we got to figure out what gives. So, I mean, I'll be curious to see what we decide as a group this evening. But we've got some really difficult decisions to make because we can't continue to carry all these projects. And it's the same old thing that we've discussed for years. Not a week goes by in which I talk to a citizen who says, we want you to do this project, and we want you to provide this service, and we want you to do this. And when I ask, how are we going to pay for that? I don't get a really good answer, because often at the end of the conversation, they say, well, we want you to reduce taxes. I don't know how you do that. I just don't know how you do that. So we've got a really difficult decision to make. I guess this is why we get the big bucks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nayhoff.
Mr. President, I have
Ms.
another
Gilbert.
question. If we're proposing to close only the fitness center, this is not closing down summer camp. This isn't
Right.
This isn't touching any of the other services, so there would not be an empty building. Is that not correct?
Mr.
Because we
Mayor,
would still be able to use the gym for other uses. Ms. Gruber, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. The building would be available to the best of my knowledge. However, that is also a decision up to the mayor and council, because there are certain carrying costs to keep a building that is 100 years old open and operational.
So if we're not proposing to, and I don't know, maybe there's a proposal out there to sell the building, I don't know. But if we're keeping the building, why would it not be physically advantageous for us to have, say, an instructor or two and have a fitness or group class or classes to accommodate those of us working, anybody throughout the day, however that would work, or however that could be determined in the future? I'm just asking. And that really would not interfere or kind of come into play with the money that would be going toward our employees into the compression issue and other things that we, and also to help with the fiber.
would anybody care to respond to Ms. Gilbert's, I guess it's a question.
I don't know, question, statement? Outside of the box thought, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President,
Mr.
while Ms. Gruber is formulating a response, I would like to keep, a number of the programs are very successful and very well liked. And these are the programs, and I guess it's all a matter of nomenclature. These are programs that are different and aside from the actual gym component.
Correct.
But from what I understand, a lot of the classes aren't duplicated out in the community. And that's what I would like to see. I would like to see that continued. And of course, I guess we need to state the obvious. We need as much staff as Ms. Gruber and Ms. Mullendorf determined to continue the special programs, because that's also what the city of Westminster does extremely well. And that brings folks to town, and that brings economic development to town. That's a very successful program. We didn't have those as much years ago, and that's a lot of responsibility. It takes a lot of work.
Ms. Gruber?
Yes, so I'm not exactly sure what portion to answer. so certainly we could continue to offer group fitness classes, more like your traditional recreation programming that you see in a lot of the rec departments across the state of Maryland, whereby for 8 weeks they would offer a Zumba class and participants would pay a fee, and of course then the instructor would be paid from the fees that would sustain that class. So certainly, Ms. Gilbert, yes. And that was what I alluded to in my earlier answer, where I said, do I think that a fitness component of some sort could still be offered to the community?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a matter of exploring other business models for the fitness center. I do think that there are opportunities there. What the answer would be, off the top of my head right now, I wouldn't be able to guess, and I certainly would want to explore that alongside of my colleagues and of course the mayor and council. As far as staff members are concerned, we would still need to retain, as Mr. Dayhoff indicated, some additional staff members to continue to be able to carry out what we do as far as events are concerned. And one of the things that we did rely heavily on our temporary roster of fitness center employees, and as well as our full-time roster of fitness center employees, were that when we would go into one of our larger scale special events, they would always be all hands on deck events where everyone who was a full-time fitness center staff member was required to work. And then we were reaching out to our temporary roster for help as well to those that would volunteer. And when I say volunteer, they would still be paid staff members. So did that answer all of the questions, or are there other questions lingering that I've not sufficiently answered at this time?
I think you made a valiant attempt, Ms. Gruber.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
I wonder if the elephants in the room is how much would we have to, I mean, if we're looking at a $210,000 deficit, and I think I know the answer to my question, but let me try and ask it anyway. How much would we be able to raise fees at the fitness center in order to keep it open? But if we raise those fees so precipitously, how many paying members would we lose? I mean, the math just doesn't seem to work.
So I do believe that earlier this year, staff contemplated a fee increase whereby we would institute an annual maintenance fee. And many of the gyms and fitness centers in the area do this. One time per year, you're charged a fee, which essentially goes towards the maintenance and upkeep of equipment. And so if we were to contemplate a maintenance fee that would be middle of the road, not too high, and not so low that it wouldn't really be advantageous to us, we did some market research and found that that fee could possibly be somewhere around $40. And so if we carry 1,000 primary members, that would be an additional revenue stream of $40,000. And then certainly other market research that we did indicated that we could likely raise our membership rate approximately $5 per membership category per month. And so that would result in $60 additional per member. So you would be looking at an additional revenue stream of about $60,000. So that gives us a total new revenue stream of $100,000, which could likely offset the operating deficit. At the same time, we also have made, as Ms. Matthews indicated, reductions in our full-time staff members that help to conduct a lot of the day-to-day staffing of the Family Fitness Center. And the reason that we were able to make some of those decisions they've been recent decisions, so we haven't actualized the savings from those yet. But the reason that we have been able to do that confidently is that you voted to eliminate the 25-hour regular employee position and allow us to hire temporary employees that could work up to 20 hours per week without being paid benefits.
So as we're talking about this, maybe we need to go back, Mr. Mayor, to the original conversation to clarify, because I think we've got a large building that the city's still going to own and still going to need to maintain, and still has other uses in addition to just, as you pointed out, the Family Fitness Center itself, which just occupies the lower level. Now, the entire building is managed by Parks and Recreation, and a lot of other activities spread out through the building. But your proposal itself, as I understood it, and because I think we need to get some clarity here, was just to close down the operations in the basement level and the fitness center itself. Is that correct? Do you want to clarify that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I'm talking about just the fitness center, not the entire family center. There are a lot of things that are going, that go on there that we aren't talking about closing. So, yeah, just the fitness center portion of the operation. And I know it gets muddled, right? Because you say fitness center, and that could encompass a lot of things. But we're not talking about closing the whole building now. We'd still need to, and that. It's something else we should talk about in terms of capital projects. Look, there are millions of dollars that probably need to go in that building over the next few years, and some of that still has to be spent. Like, we have to keep the roof from leaking. We have to replace or have a lot of work done on the HVAC unit, but there are other things that we may not have to or may change course. We talk about the locker rooms. The locker rooms are something that, depending on how the use of the building changes, may need to be repurposed, or maybe we want to keep them the same. I don't know, but there are capital costs that we would have to keep, and some that we likely would not.
Thank you. Is there any additional discussion?
What do you need as far as? I apologize,
Ms.
Matthews.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to mention, Ms. Gruber had indicated that she had worked with Ms. Childs and myself to kind of try to come up with a staffing pattern that would avoid staff turnover and, just some of the scheduling difficulties. We spent a lot of time going back and forth on that, and as I mentioned during my initial comments, there's sort of a tension between what is workable operationally and what is the cheapest. But I did want to mention, while you all did, kindly change the threshold from 20 to 25 hours for benefits, kind of Ms. Child's net calculation of the changes that are reflected in the budget with staffing, even with eliminating some positions but bumping some others up to 20 hours, our initial calculations is that there may not be any savings from that, simply because it depends on what type of insurance people pick, as well as eligibility for state retirement. So I did just want to mention, I think Ms. Gruber has tried to balance those things out, but I didn't want to leave a misimpression that the changes that are reflected in the FY 2020 budget are necessarily going to save money. I think they work very well operationally, and I think if we're going to continue to operate a fitness center, then I believe Ms. Gruber should have a staffing pattern that works for her managerially. But I would not necessarily say that it's saving money because of things outside of Ms. Gruber's control.
Thank you. Mr. Dayhoff, were you trying to be recognized?
Yeah, if it's okay with you.
Please go ahead.
When you talk with other municipal officials across the state, the city of Westminster is not the Lone Ranger on this. A lot of municipalities, just like the city of Westminster, are accumulating a lot of non-performing buildings and non-performing properties, and they all come with a cost. And we have to do something at this point in time to make some good decisions as to what properties we prioritize and what programs that we prioritize, because we can't continue to maintain all of these non-performing properties. If you will remember, Mr. Pecoraro, we purchased, what was it, the Westminster Fertilizer and Feed a number of years ago and made it into a parking lot, and we were going to market that. And from what I understand, when you were about to market the surplus surface parking area there, the economy did a downturn. So we're still stuck with that property. This was after we built the parking decks. I don't know where we are as far as paying off the parking decks, but they also have a cost. Wakefield Valley is presenting with enormous costs. I don't know how we make these decisions.
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi.
Mr. Dayhoff, you know I love you, but I don't know what you're talking about Wakefield presenting enormous costs. Wakefield Valley costs us less than $20,000 a year to mow and maintain, and we got that property for $0. I negotiated that deal, and we paid nothing for it. So I would ask that you explain if that you're saying it's enormous cost. I don't believe there's any cost for Wakefield Valley at this time other than mowing it and some very minor maintenance on the bridges. Yet hundreds of people every week go out there and enjoy that beautiful scenery basically for free. So I'm sorry, but I'm a little sensitive because I was heavily involved in getting that property,
right,
and it's not costing us virtually anything.
Right, and you're correct. You're correct, and I thank you for helping me out with that. I guess what I'm looking at is what are we going to do with the maintenance buildings and the conference center and the Durbin House? That's what I'm looking at. Whatever we do with them, at some point in time, there's going to be some big costs associated with that. You are correct as far as the cost of purchasing the property, and you are correct as far as the cost of mowing the property. But I'm just worried that deferred maintenance is accumulating on us down there. I looked at a drone video recently of the property just a couple of years ago, and the property's really deteriorated precipitously, and it's going to cost us some money to take care of that. Even if we don't do anything with, as far as lots of folks use it, and I like it for the park, and I think that's a legacy thing. But at some point in time, we got to do something with the conference center and the Durbin House and the maintenance building, and we also have to maintain some of the bridges and some of the other infrastructure out there. That's what I was referring to. But you are correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. President, can I kind of follow up? So I guess what I'm getting from some of this is, one, I'm sure we have properties that we're sitting on and it's not really making us some money. And it would be nice if we kind of look at those properties and see what maybe we could sell that would be beneficial to us. But then also with the fitness center, we have a property that we also don't want to have sitting there not doing anything. If we choose not to have a fitness center, why can't we come up with some creative ways to use it until we decide what to do with that building, if that's the path we choose, one of which is possibly a fitness component. I'm just throwing that out there. I think exercise is important for our folks. I think it's a choice that for some people who can't afford some of our gyms, and the fact that a lot of our fitness programs today are motivated by the experience, be it yoga classes or Zumba classes or mommy and me classes or daddy and me classes, whatever it is, and still give our citizens and or folks of the county an opportunity to exercise in a creative way, much like Abby has said previously, that given our COVID-19, I don't even know what a gym's going to look like, or if that's even a potential 6 months to a year down the road until there's a vaccine. We may not be opening any gyms, but virtually doing things and maybe having fitness classes 6 feet apart might work. I'm just throwing that out there as an option that I think might be feasible, that we could do all of this.
Well, certainly there are many options there, and I think that one thing that's clear, I think it's important to say is, as I understand the mayor's suggestion, there's still an important and active role for the Recreation and Parks Department, and lots of things for Ms. Gruber and the staff that that she has to to continue to do. And certainly some of these things would be options, I imagine. So the mayor's made a proposal on closing the fitness center itself, which is just the basement level of the Armory building, and not affecting other activities that might take place in the building.
President,
Mr. Yingling.
I mean, I think that we're at the point right now that we need to give staff some direction. Is that what
Well,
you're?
that's where I was going, and that's what I was about to ask. And Mr. Yingling, if you'd like to suggest something,
I think, I don't. Do I make a motion?
you can make. Well, we don't.
I like to make a motion to accept the mayor's proposal in closing the fitness center to reallocate the funds and investing more in our people, public safety, public works, and then the $24,000 to help market the fiber project in order to close the take rate of, or I'm sorry, in order to increase take rate and close the financial gap that we are subsidizing the project with. I would like to make that motion. And also keep, I have no problem though with Ms. Gilbert and ideas of looking at other creative ways to still offer services, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we don't usually do motions during a work session like this, but
Okay, I would suggest we make that direction then.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Yingling. So we need to give the staff some direction in finishing the in finishing up the drafting of the budget. So the mayor's made a proposal. Mr. Yingling has made clear how he feels on this. Would anybody else like to be heard? Anybody differ with this idea?
I confer with Councilman Yingling. I would agree with him, as I've kind of already voiced. Yes.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Well, I don't. It seems like there's a strong sentiment on the council to go along with this. Ms. Gruber, were you trying to speak?
No.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought it looked like you went up there.
Ms. Gruber, is it possible you can come back to the Parks and Rec Committee with what that fitness component could look like very shortly, or whether it be a fitness component or a little redesign? I don't know what you want to call it, but something that after the fitness center would close, what that possibly could look like, and the financial aspects of that.
I could certainly work on some plausible scenarios. When you say quickly, what type of a time frame are you thinking?
I don't know, you tell. I don't know. What do you guys, what do you have a thought?
Ms. Gilbert, maybe we can put together a meeting with
Okay.
Ms. Mullendore and Ms. Gruber and go over it.
In the next
And I think that's what we need to do. I mean, Mr. President, you said maybe you sort of kind of characterized that there's strong support for this idea. There's not strong support with me at all. I would characterize my view at this point in time is it's a business decision, and I need to go along with it kicking and screaming. I just don't know of an alternative at this point in time. I don't know where we're going to come up with all the money that we need to come up with for all these various different programs. I just don't know how we're going to do it, but I really like the fitness center.
Mr. President, are you still with us? Okay.
I think we lost him.
In his absence, I'll go ahead and take over the meeting until he gets back with us. I think we've talked this out to its finish at this point. I think we need to go ahead and move on to the next topic. Ms. Matthews, I don't have the, hold on. I don't have the agenda in front of me or the slides. You have those. So what's up next?
Yeah.
Did we come to some kind of conclusion, and do we give staff direction here? I mean, I feel like some people were for it, and then they didn't really decide one way or the other. So I don't know. Do we give enough direction, Ms. Matthews?
I think so.
Well, there was, Ms. Sosowski might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Councilmember Yingling had a motion on the table.
Well, Ms. Matthews, we don't need to have a motion necessarily during a work session. We talked it through. My understanding is that there's at least, if not a full consensus, we're moving forward with closing the fitness center. I think it's that simple. So that's the conclusion, and let's move on to the next piece of business.
Right.
There were no other scheduled discussion topics, Councilmember Kavachi, about the budget, but certainly you've got all the department directors on the phone. If there's any aspects of the budget that you all would like to raise at this time, we're certainly happy to answer your questions.
Anyone wish to ask any of the department heads questions to anything related to other topics than what we just discussed?
Mr. Kavachi?
Yes, Mr. Dayhoff.
May we have a copy of the slide presentation emailed to us so that we can study it some more?
I'm sure Ms. Matthews can take care of that.
Yes, I will do that tonight.
Okay.
All right, so looking at the agenda, it looks like that is the last item of business. If there is nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to a close and thank everyone for being here. Just a reminder that we do have a council meeting coming up next Monday at 7 o'clock. At that time, we will be voting on the finalization of the budget. Is that correct, Ms. Matthews?
That is correct. We will probably be talking to basically to try to figure out whether we can get all the changes done. I think one issue that did just occur to me, and I believe Councilmember Gilbert may have raised this issue. I assume if we are closing down the fitness center component that we should remove the two capital projects that are specifically related to its operation, which once again would be the purchase of cardio equipment and then the shower room renovation. I just want to make sure we capture all your changes when the budget comes back before you.
I think that's accurate, Ms. Matthews. Council President Pecoraro is back online with us. We went ahead, moved on from the last topic of discussion, Mr. President, and we are now close to adjourning. We were just confirming that we're going to be voting in the budget at the next meeting, but Ms. Matthews brought up the fact that because of the decision to close the fitness center, there are two capital budget items that we may need to also draw a conclusion on, which is the shower renovation as well as the
cardio equipment.
Right. And she's looking for a little bit of direction related to that, Mr. President. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
But Mr. President.
Thank you. I think I'm still muted.
No, we hear you. We hear you fine.
All right, great. Thank you.
But Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
I can understand not purchasing the equipment, but I don't want to contribute to the further deterioration of the building. I'd like to leave the money in the budget for fixing the bathrooms. I understand that perhaps we're going to reconfigure some things in the basement. And I'm not suggesting that we go right ahead and maybe fix the bathroom, but I'd like to leave that money in there in case there's any money that we need to reconfigure the basement. And then if I can, on the other topic of salary compression, are we going to be looking at a schedule that's going to be coming forward sometime soon as to how it is we're going to address that as far as the set point and the midpoint and how it is that we're going to address the salary compression?
Ms. Matthews, do you have a Are you going to prepare some, can you prepare that for us?
Yes, my initial thought is that we would contact Evergreen Consultants, which is our the firm that we worked with that conducted the comp and class study and helped us with the phases. I think Mayor Dominic's proposal included, as you recall, roughly $25,000 to basically apply to marketing of the fiber network. I did want to mention that in talking to Ms. Gruber, and I can get something to you more specific, there would likely be a need for, some level of administrative support staff to help them with certain aspects of their operation. So I'd like the opportunity to, discuss that in further detail with her and Ms. Childs. But my thought would be to contact Evergreen Consultants and have them start working on some alternative phase 3 implementation scenarios, basically to deal with compression, which is what the group seems to want us to do. So, basically we already have roughly $78,000 in the budget after, we back off the marketing dollars for fiber and whatever level of administrative support Ms. Gruber may need, that I basically give that dollar figure to Evergreen and have them come up with some scenarios to implement the direction that I believe I heard this evening.
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
I would ask that in doing that, Ms. Matthews, that you maybe confer with the Personnel Committee related to maybe some specifics where some of that decompression may occur, so that you understand what we're hoping to drive towards when it comes to that.
I would be happy to do whatever the elected body would like me to do.
Thank you.
Well, I agree. It has to go by the Personnel Committee. I need a recommendation from Personnel Committee.
All right, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing that then. On the issue of the money for renovations in the in the bathrooms, I think it's wise to leave that money in there myself.
Okay, good.
And I hope we'll consider doing that. For one, I think maybe we should consider fixing the bathrooms. I think that there may be uses for the building, the entire building, that would necessitate being able to have that those working facilities. And so I think it's worth considering that as for one thing. And of course, there may be other things we need to do as well in there. But I would encourage us to keep that money in there.
Maybe with the understanding that we could perhaps utilize that money for some reconfiguring or saving as many of the popular programs as possible over there. We don't have to spend it. We don't have to spend it.
Well, we don't have to, but remember, this is capital money, not operating money. So,
you brought it out of the capital budget, so it's special benefit assessment funds.
Well, I believe it's capital money, isn't it?
That is correct, Council President Pecoraro. I think hearing the different comments, what I might suggest is that we leave the dollars in, because there seems to be some sentiment to do so, and maybe we'll just rename the project in the capital improvement to something a little bit more generic about improvements at Longwell or something to that effect.
All right, thank you. Anything else we need to deal with on that? Okay. So I guess that concludes the conversation under the work session, unless anybody has anything else they'd like to raise. All right, hearing nothing else, we'll end that. In that portion, we'll move on from that. Remind everybody that we are keeping the record open in general on the public hearing on this matter. So we encourage people to continue to share their thoughts on this and any other matters under the budget that they'd like to bring up with us. I had nothing else on the agenda for tonight. So Ms. Vysotsky, did you have any other comments, public comments to read for us tonight, outside of what was done for the public hearing?
I do not, but as you recall earlier, we did amend the agenda to include citizen comments.
Right.
Did you receive those two comments?
you did send it. Do you have them handy? Because if you do,
Yep.
let me see. I'm just trying if I do have them here in my. Just a
I
moment.
sent them through the Word document.
Okay.
Hold on one minute.
Mr. President, while we're waiting for Ms. Vysotsky to find those two comments, I think there's an important point when it comes to citizen comments relative to the way we're now conducting business. This is all new, how we've had to make these changes going into these Zoom meetings and all that with the COVID. When someone comes to one of our council meetings or submits something into us to be read at one of the public hearings, up until tonight, there were a couple of requirements that had to be met. Number one, that we had to know what their name was. Number two, we needed to know what their address is. I think that's, if not at least a legal requirement, it's certainly something that we want. I'm a little uncomfortable taking comments when we don't even know what the person's name is. I think we're opening ourselves up to, potentially bigger issues going forward, depending upon how long this situation lasts where we're Zooming. So I think that maybe we need to consider some type of methodology where we ensure that we get a full name and address that goes along with those comments. That's my only comment.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. I agree with that. I think that we need to, and in fact, we are requesting when people email us their comments to include, their name and address. And so we do encourage people to do that when they send them in to us. I have a couple of citizen comments here that were sent in that were general, which I will read at this time. One is from Jason Stambaugh. I know I believe he's a city resident, although I don't recall where he lives. Greetings, Mayor and Council. I've loved tuning into council meetings live. Thank you for making that happen. I have a lot of respect for each of you, and I'm grateful for your service to our community. I strongly encourage the mayor and council to follow Councilman Yingling's recommendation to develop and adopt a new economic development plan for the city. This process will yield a refreshed vision and plan for our community that will guide investment and policy decisions for years to come. The city's last economic development plan was published in 2009 in the wake of the financial crisis. Much has changed since then. We've taken control over the old Wakefield Valley Golf Course, purchased the BB&T building and Stocksdale Garage, and have built world-class fiber infrastructure. We've welcomed many new manufacturing firms along the Route 97 corridor. Carroll County Public Library is launching Exploration Commons in 2021. And there are several new entrepreneurs making big investments downtown. Let's keep building momentum. Again, thank you for your hard work and service to Westminster. I have another one from Kate Carter, who is also a city resident. To the members of the City Council, I would like to request the reopening of the tennis, pickleball, and basketball courts in the city parks. We as citizens are able to effectively practice social distancing and abide by the governor's mandate and still participate in these outdoor recreational activities. Citizens can wear masks and gloves and practice proper sanitation techniques while playing and get great exercise. In addition, I would like to request that the city place the pickleball lines on the courts at King Park. This is one of the fastest growing sports in America, and Westminster will be ahead of the game. Thank you for your time. Those were the two that I had that came.
Mr. President, I have one. May I read it?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I have one from Carrie Nauer. Carrie Nauer lives over on George Street. Carrie Nauer writes, Dear Mayor and City Council, my husband and I have been Westminster homeowners since 2004. My husband joined the Westminster Family Fitness Center soon after that, and I did a while later as well. The fitness center is such an asset to our city, such a welcoming and comfortable place to work out and build community with others. The staff and trainers do an amazing job of encouraging us. The daycare staff has been great for our kids, and whenever I brought friends during the February and January fitness challenge, they couldn't believe how much value we get for our gym membership cost. I know the building is old and has issues, but that's really part of the charm. having a city-owned facility and walking distance of everywhere in downtown is a major asset, why we have continued to live in the city and pay higher taxes than people just over the city line. Please, please, please continue to support this city feature in the city budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. And with that, that's the end of the comments that we have. And so we will adjourn the meeting. Again, please feel free to send additional comments to our city clerk. Are we able to put her email address on the screen?
Yes, I can do that.
All right, great. Please continue to send your comments to her, and we will reconvene next Monday evening to continue our discussion. Thank you all very much, and the meeting's adjourned.